spent a lot of time, a lot of years of their career in the sport to an organization like this.
The funniest thing, when this first came up and we heard about it, I've talked, everybody, here's the funny part, everybody's wanting to take credit for it right now. Everybody I talk to wants to take credit for it, for coming up with this idea. And so I don't really know who the first one was to bring it up. I'm glad they did. The neat part, I'll tell you, the neatest part of this whole thing is the hierarchy. All the hierarchy of NASCAR from the top all the way down through have gotten behind this thing, and everybody's supporting it 100%. I don't know that years ago that would have happened, right? Because we're going through so many other things, but they understand. We understand as competitors. The guys. I mean, I know all the guys that I raced against, and I talk to a lot of them. I still do, and sometimes they would try to come to track. Didn't really know how to get a pass to get in. Some of the guys would come. They'd feel alienated, right? Like they're out of place. Right, so over a period of time, the guys that lived and gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this for their whole lives, you're kind of taken away from it, and there's not really an avenue for you to come back and enjoy being there, and that's what that's what the alumni group is doing, and it's a lot of things. Again, it's the infancy stage right now for the alumni group. My hope is, one of the hopes, and I've told this to Helton and France and everybody, Amber. One of my hopes is that we can help bridge the gap between us, our guys that used to race. We can bridge that gap to the new guys, at least from a fan's perception, because you got to understand the sport, the sport part of our sport is pure, and it'll always be relevant because of that. And what I mean is, when you strap into that car, you got one thing on your mind. You drive that car as absolutely hard as you can drive it every single lap, trying to pass the guy in front of you. The Ford guy, Edsel Ford or whoever in 1913 had the same thought. Curtis Turner had the same thought. Richard Petty had the same thought. Rick Mast had the same thought. Today, Denny Hamlin has the same thought. It's that part remains pure. No matter what goes on outside of the car, the politics, the rules, whatever, that part remains pure. And I think we can help the newer guys in fan relations, media relations, just their careers in general, how to handle situations and just do things that makes it easier for them. That's the hope that I have that will come out of this alumni group.
So you have good fan reception of people that remember you in the sport, and you talked about perception. Now I guess we're talking about reception.
What was wild to me, and I haven't been, I go to the race. I go to 3 or 4 races a year. I do some work at Richmond for the president there. We go do some fan interaction stuff. But yesterday here at Darlington at the fan experience, we're out there. Me and Evernham did a Q&A session. Then we'd sit down and did autographs. I think I had one pack of Hero cars, 300. Went through all the cars. Well, it was amazing to me the amount of people that came through that had Rick Mast die-cast stuff, right? And this thing wasn't announced that I know of that I was going to be there. But we kept a strong, steady line of autograph seekers the whole time I sat there. And, it wasn't a lot of people out there yesterday, but who all was out there stayed in that line to get the autographs. And every single one of them, without a fault, knew who I was. And they would bring up something of my career, right? When it was all done, I remember telling Ray, I said, man, this is pretty cool. These people remember all that, right? And so, yeah, it's there. It's there. I mean, to me, it seems like it was 2 weeks ago when I retired. It's been 15, 20 years or whatever. But the emotions and the connections with the fans, I'm going to tell you something, guys. I tell people this all the time. When we were in the sport, the connections that the fans had with the drivers, it was almost like a worship or a hero status. And believe me, I know us drivers better than anybody. And I always said, if everybody knew us drivers the way I know us, it wouldn't be that big a deal, because we're not anything special. But the perception of the drivers, the hero status, or as Ken Squire, the great Ken Squire, called those guys modern day gladiators, right? And we're not any of that, but the perception was that, and you conducted yourself that way. Right, and those guys still remember that stuff, and they try to. I just think we need to tie all of it together, and I think this is a good way of doing it.
Do you think there's a chance that you guys could help the new generation of drivers maybe understand not to be so buttoned up, not to be so straight-laced, to kind of help further that?
That is one of the things that I would love to help with that. The problem is the corporate sponsorship, right, and the social media the way it is today. The guys have got to be so careful, with what they're doing. the one thing that I think we can help maybe is with some of the marketing departments and PR departments and sponsored PR departments is like Denny right now, Denny Hamlin, the stuff he's doing with these podcasts. I mean, he's out there, guys. Y'all know he's out there, and some of the younger guys, and you got to understand, in order to be a driver, you've got to have money, you've got to have sponsorships. You basically do what they say, right? But if we could get those guys to loosen up on these guys, if they say something wrong or get in a little bit of trouble, their job's not threatened. Because that really dictates a lot of what these guys can do and say and the way they act. Their jobs are threatened now when they get out of line a little bit, and maybe we can help to alleviate some of that stuff a little bit.
We're now in the 10th year of the Throwback Weekend, believe it or not. Just since that began, just how much has it brought the new and the old together?
Well, I came here 2 years ago. Sam Mayer with Junior Motorsports did a throwback to one of my Rick Mast gold cars, the scheme. I think it was 2 years ago, and Sam Mayer run it in the Xfinity race. And, I hadn't been back to Darlington since I got out. And that weekend I was here, and I'm like, man, and all the old cars and all the stuff. And a lot of the guys that we raced with were here more than anywhere else you'd go to see guys. And that was just such a cool deal. And I think, I think the fans love it. I know the media loves it. I know the guys in the sport love it. I know NASCAR loves it, right? The racetrack, of course, loves it. And, if you get the competitors and everybody bought into something like that, it makes it good. And, I didn't realize this was 10 years. So this is 10 years already. I didn't realize that. But, I think that probably helped create the alumni group. I think just this throwback thing we've done for 10 years probably fed into their thinking about starting an alumni group.
And with the alumni group, just being here, how many people have you been able to see, say hello to, catch up with that you haven't been able to in a while?
Quite a few, right? I mean, a lot of the guys I speak to on the phone, but all the Wallaces, Hornaday, Mike, Kenny, just Dave Marcus, all the guys, Evernham. And, we all go our separate ways. We do our things, and sometimes we'll talk on the phone. But what's strange, or not strange, but what's neat, every one of these guys I spent the last 2 days with was sat down. We'll start having a conversation. And it was it's like we picked up on the conversation from 20 years ago. It's the weirdest thing, the way this thing is working. Now, I notice it with all the guys. All the guys are back in the same conversations we used to have 20 years ago when we were all together. And it's so friggin' cool, man.
This is Austin Dillon, driver of the Bass Pro Shops Chevrolet. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also check out one of those 2 videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.